So this is a TUF RTX 3060 Ti, and this is a TUF RTX 3080. If you own a 2060 Super or 2070 Super and you wish to upgrade, which card should you go for 1080p as well as 1440p gaming? Let's find out today. Welcome back to RealMelTan, providing you with tech reviews as well as amazing PC build ideas without breaking a bank. If you enjoy our content, make sure to smash the subscribe as well as the bell buttons. Okay, so a bit on both cards. So both the RTX 3060 Ti as well as the 3080 have the same length and width, but the 3080 has a much thicker heatsink to compensate for its bigger power requirements as well as the amount of heat that it generates. As you can see, the 3060 Ti has one 8-pin power, but the 3080 requires two 8-pin power. Okay, so point of note, even though you can see that both cards have 3 intake fans, following the NVIDIA founders cards, the last fan just blows air right through the card. Because how it works is that the card is here, it blows the heat out upwards vertically to out of the case. And lastly, the 3060 Ti has 3 display ports as well as 2 HDMI ports. Okay, so let's now go on to the test bench setup. These are the list of PC parts. And yes, if you're wondering, this is the new ASUS ROG Strix B550XE. Don't worry, we're going to do a review on this board really soon, so make sure to come back to our channel to not miss out on the review. And thank you to ASUS for lending us this, and the one inside. So a shout out to them, ASUS Singapore, for basically sponsoring this entire video. Yep. Okay, so let's now go on to the benchmarks.
Okay, first off, we have the ever vulnerable CSGO. Now, at 1080p, the gap between both the 3060 Ti as well as the 3080 is quite substantial. We're looking at about an approximate 40% difference between them. So 450 and around 650-670 FPS. Next, we come to 1440p. Now, 1440p, the gap considerably narrows. It's like less than 20% now. But CSGO, being a game as it is, it has a lot of FPS, so if you're playing this on a high refresh rate monitor, you're gonna get a very excellent experience on both cards. Next, we come to Rainbow Six Siege. Now, if you look at the average itself, at 1080p, the gap is about 30% between the two cards itself. However, the gap considerably widens to about almost 40% at 1440p. So the 3080 does quite a fair bit better at 1440p in this game, as you can see right over here. However, nevertheless, both cards will pump out big numbers in this game at the ultra setting, and you have a very pleasurable experience at both 1080p as well as 1440p. Okay, next we come to the Dirt 5, the new racing game from Codemasters. Now, this title, there's been a lot of jokes about it being demanding, unoptimized, you know, that kind of thing. So, we've decided to pit these two cards against each other in this new title. And you're not gonna see any big numbers from either of these cards actually. But the gap between them is quite substantial. At 1080p, you're looking at about approximately 35% difference between the two of them. While at 1440p, the difference increases a bit to about 40% like that. So in both resolutions, the 3080 has quite a substantial lead over the 3060 Ti. And last but not least, we have also another new title, AC Valhalla, which is the successor to AC Odyssey, which we have been using in our previous reviews. Now, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is more demanding than Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and it's kind of obvious, and it really shows here. As you can see, the 3060 Ti at 1080p ultra setting, your average is only about 75 like that. The RTX 3080 does quite a fair bit better at 1080p, where 92, which is about 20-25%, there about there. At 1440p, the gap is also more or less the same. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it's also about like a 20-25% gap like that. It's pretty consistent here. Now that I've taken through all the numbers and all that, what does this mean to you as a gamer? Now, let's put it this very simply itself. This guy over here, the 3060 Ti, as you can see, at 1080p, it's a powerhouse, even with the two newer titles, Dirt 5 as well as Assassin's Creed Valhalla. It does very well also with CSGO as well as the Rainbow Six Siege. But if you kind of notice, in the two newer titles, this guy at 1440p becomes a 60 FPS card. The same cannot be said of this guy, which is good, because you'll notice that this guy in the two newer titles Despite the demands that they place on the card itself, the 3080 handles itself pretty well in those two newer titles, averaging like 90, 100 FPS at both 1080p as well as 1440p, especially 1440p. So bearing that in mind, but let's put it this way. If you were somebody that went out 1.5 years ago and you bought a RTX 2060, a bit later on you bought an RTX 2060 Super, and you have a 1080p 144Hz monitor, and now that you find that that card is getting a little bit slow, especially these two newer titles, and you want something that can keep up at 1080p, go for this fella. For the price that it goes for, at about average of SGD 700, this is good for where it stands. If, however, you are one of those people who 1.5 years ago bought a RTX 2080 Super, or you have a 2080 Ti, chances are you probably have a 1440p 144Hz monitor. And you're beginning to find that, yeah, those Kais are running a little bit out of steam at ultra settings. This is the guy that should take over its place and succeed its throne. So because as you can see in our numbers, this guy holds its own, even at 1440p Ultra in those two titles. So there you have it. If you have a 1080p 144Hz monitor, spend 600-700 SGD, go for this fella. If you have a 1440p 144Hz monitor, take out 1.3k SGD from your pocket and buy this fella. So I hope this advice of mine has given some light as to and made your decision making process a little bit easier. If you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to drop them right below in the comment section.
Okay, so short video, short review, very good, right?
Get right to the point.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, yes, I hope Gordon's advice and my advice has helped you decide between these two cards. And so if you like this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up. And as Gordon mentioned, if you have any questions, write down in the comments. As mentioned, make sure to come back to our channel because we're going to do a review on this V550XE. If you have not done so, make sure to subscribe and come back to our channel. So from Gordon and I, we say good night and goodbye.